Hello, my name is Saturn and welcome again to another episode of Shooting with the Bearing. We're going to be showing you how to set up an SCA archery field. The standards are going to be specifically North Shield standards, mainly because, well, that's the kingdom that I'm in. But in the SCA in general, their only main difference is going to be some kingdoms might use the societal standards, which is between, specifically when you want to do a left and right limit, you can do either a 30 to a 45-degree angle. In North Shield, we always use 45-degree angles. So I'm going to use everything at 45, and you can change it depending upon the kingdom that you're in or the standards that are acceptable. So the thing that we're going to start off with is the shooting lines, okay? We always shoot mainly between the 20, 30, and 40-yard targets. So that's going to be the standard on which we're going to start with any archery field. So, set up 3 targets, okay? We're going to start and we're going to draw a line just like that. That is going to be where our targets are stationed. From there, you want to make sure you step back 20 yards. I've already drawn that. Like I said, I'm drawing backwards. Not bad. Then we also have 30 yards will be the next one. And 40 yards. All right, pretty good. Those are going to be the 3 standard yard ranges that pretty much any shoot is going to occur. Now, you can actually do a 10 and a 5, okay? Now, I'm doing pretty good. Now, the 10 and 5 are going to be more of what's known as a specialty shoot. Some specialty shoots are going to be if you got a kid's shoot, if you got a special crossbow shoot, anything like that. You're going to get that when there's going to be pretty much any bows between 20 or 25 or less that are going to be shooting. So you want to make sure you have ranges closer to make sure that those capabilities are given as an option. And I said most of the time it's going to be for mostly kids. Whenever you do this, you always want to make sure that this area, which is going to be 40 to the targets, needs to be exactly 40 in the back open. Okay? Whenever you're shooting, you always want to have a 1-to-1 ratio on 50 targets or less, 50-yard targets or less. So if you got 40 yards here, you got 40 yards in the back. 50 yards, 50 yards. Anything over 50 is a 1 to 1.5 ratio, okay? Or 1.5. So if you're going 100, you would have 150. I will explain those types of shoots, specifically what I was calling a clout shoot yesterday. I'll explain that later. But right now, when you set up your first field, this is the way you're going to set it up. 20, 30, 40. And then from here, you want to go out 45 degrees. Same thing on this side. From there, you go back 40 yards. Okay, why do we have this left and right 45-degree limit? I'm sure some of you know, some of you don't know. There's a thing called a ricochet aspect. In the military, we always classify it as either a hard ricochet or a soft ricochet. A hard ricochet would be like if you were shooting and a bullet hit a rock or a piece of metal, it hits it and it immediately goes back. It has the same force as the bullet going in, has the same force as it retreating. That's a hard target. A soft target is where it would hit something soft, like a berm or a rubber tire or something like that, where it would absorb part of the energy. The same thing here. What we have is whenever you're shooting from a 40-yard target, you want to make sure that if you miss it, the arrow is going to go the same distance as you're aiming for the target. So, example is this. Your target is right here. You're trying to shoot the target. If you miss the target, your arrow is going to go the same distance back as it was to the target. That's why you have 40 yards and back. Now, the reason it goes to the side, 45 degrees, it's as if you hit something, say, strangely enough, there was a metal frame holding the target, and your arrow hits the metal frame. It'll hit and then go sideways or back the same amount. So if you take this, it would almost be like an arc. So if it comes back, it's going to come back 40 yards. If it goes this way, it's going to go 40 yards. 40 yards up, 40 yards over is a 45-degree angle. Make sense? So this is the standard setup for a simple 20, 30, and 40 degree. You will always do the 45-degree angle from the 40-yard line. If you have a 50-yard line, then you're going to do it from the 50-yard. You always do it from the furthest yard line. It's very simple on that. So I talked about hard targets and I talked about soft targets. Now, say for example, you don't have enough of a range. What you can do is you can put what's known as a backstop. Certain things that can be backstops are hay bales. You can have a cloth that hangs down that will stop the arrows from going past. You can have a dirt berm. You're going to see that a lot in a lot of shooting ranges. You're going to also have like an indoor range, a whole bunch of compressed material that's going to make sure that the arrows don't go all the way through. They might go partially through, but they're still not going to go well into the 40-yard area. So if you have a backdrop that will help stop, you don't need the full 40 yards. Before we go to the next part, let's talk about some certain types of shoots that can be done. Okay, in the SCA we have the ICAP, all right? That's always going to be pretty much at the 20, 30, 30, and 40 yard range. Now, let's say you want to do, you can do that with regular recurves, long bows, crossbows. You want to try something new, try something special. Like one of the events we have a torchlight shoot. Now, here's where marking your range comes into play. You need to mark the range to include either, you can have flags, you can have colored tape, you can have chem lights, which is always really good. You can also have torches. Those are always good. Those solar cell yard walkway path lights are really good. Therefore, they stick in the ground. They're not open. You can see them during the day, but at night, when the sun comes out, the light comes on. It's very easy to mark the targets, things like that. So you always need to mark all major areas to include each line. These are not a requirement, but it also helps specifically when if you're losing an arrow, you can go and pretty much go, okay, if this is right here, more than likely the arrow's not going to go much past this area. Helps you find arrows. Streamers, everything like that, like we mentioned. The other types of shoots that can come into play are going to be marching shoots, where you can actually, instead of just having a target, you actually have a full form figure of a person. You can have targets. I get targets that actually have colored paint in them, so when you puncture them, they bleed a different color, so you can score them differently. That's an option. Everything that you do here is limited on your imagination and space. Okay? Now, real quickly, what we'll talk about next is safety. For safety, I'll use red. All right? Whenever you want to, and this is part of marking the territory to make sure everyone knows where things are, so everyone's safe, you want to make sure that whenever you enter the range area, you always enter from above the furthest target line. Okay? So people will come in, they'll come in this way, and then they will go to whatever line that you tell them. Everyone can only be on one line at a time. So everyone's either on 20, everyone's on 30, or everyone's on 40. There's always the ratio of how many people per marshal. That comes down to safety again. You got a real good experienced marshal, they're going to make sure they're going up and down the line, behind the people, checking everything out, making sure their equipment's good, making sure everyone has straddled the line. Straddling the line means once you're on the line here, 1 foot is behind the line, 1 foot is over the line. Now you know for sure everyone is on the line, no one is trying to shoot behind, which could potentially have the arrow go sideways, have people get injured. So you always want to make sure the line is straddled. Some good ratios for that is 1 to 10. 1 good experienced marshal for every 10 shooters. Okay, let's talk about the 5 and 10. Those are going to be, like I said, more towards like kids shoots and everything like that. Some people say 1 to 5. I go with a ratio of 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 at the most. If it's a 1 to 2 ratio, what I do is I stand in the middle, one's over here, one's over here, and I tell them, all right, you shoot first, then you, then you, then you. So each one shoots 1 arrow at a time, and I can focus and make sure both of them are safe by allowing 2 people to shoot. Like I said, for me, that's what I use. For kids, makes things go quicker and safer. Let's see. Okay, we're talking about safety. Everyone is always a safety person. Someone sees something safe, the thing you always yell is, hold. All right? Doesn't matter if you're like, oh, well, I thought I saw something. Oh, that was stupid. No, there was nothing stupid about it. Everyone wants to be safe. Everyone wants to shoot. Gee, it takes an extra 6 seconds. Everyone will get over it. Just make sure if you see something, call a hold. Ask the marshal, hey, is this okay? I'm not sure. The marshal will say, yep, it's still good to go. Still good to go. Everyone continue to shoot. Then everyone continues to shoot. Or it's like, oh, you're right. Hold on. Let me get that out of the way. Such as, hey, there's something moving there. Is that a snake? Oh, you're right. It's a snake. Everyone get off the line. We're going to get a stick. We're going to move it. Oh, it's a bad snake. Everyone, we're shutting down for a little bit until the snake leaves. Stuff like that. Another thing is going to be like, say for example, well, we live in North Dakota. We get gopher holes like crazy. If you see a gopher hole, say there's a gopher hole here, here, and right here. Now some of them are small enough that it's not going to be too bad. Some of them are going to be big. Some of them are going to be holes that another animal's tried to dig out of. That's when you take one of these flags again and just stick it right there. Make sure everyone knows, hey, there's a hole here, there's a hole here. All right, now that everyone knows, gives a nice little safety brief. Everyone can continue to fire. There we go. One of the things that we also use a lot around here for a backdrop is bales. Bales can be really good when they start deteriorating. Arrows can go in there. If you got the small bales, it's not too bad. If you got the big round ones, you can lose a lot of arrows. Another thing is there's going to be sometimes animals in those bales. So just go there, be careful, let everyone know, hey, these are old bales, there might be some snakes, mice, or anything like that, just be aware. Mainly because some people come there with not fully leathered boots or anything like that. So you're going to have some people that have thin shoes or whatever. Nice courtesy, if they have a problem, all right, I'll get my arrows later, or take a stick and just beat on the bales a bit to make any type of animal potentially run away, or crawl away, or hide, whatever. There's always going to be things you can do to keep things safer. And that's just going to come with experience. Marshaling other areas where it's like, hey, I never thought about using that inflatable foam. Hey, I got a whole bunch of empty cardboard boxes. Just shoot some spray foam in there, let it expand. Hey, those are some nice, easy targets. Didn't think about that. Every time you do one of these, go help, shoot, ask questions. Everyone's going to come up with a new idea, everything like that. Like I said before, one of them is that night shoot. We first tried it with torches. Thought it was going to be a good idea. Did not turn out to be as good as we thought because there was a lot of wind. So the flames didn't give out as much light. The next year we used the solar lights and we put more of them out there. Wasn't a problem after that. So one time you do it and it didn't turn out that great, that doesn't mean you can't try again with something different. See if it gets better. All right, I'll wipe this off. All right, now we're going to go with some shoots that are over 50 yards. The one that I like to do is called a clout shoot, okay? A clout shoot is anything where you have a target, usually between 80 and 100 yards. So, and it can be anything. It can be a big circle, or one of them was, there was a castle wall, and what we had shields and people, and they were just out of cardboard and they're lying on the ground. So they were just different targets. And the goal was to shoot over the castle and try and land onto one of the targets. Now you can also do a clout shoot where you have, say, a ring of bales, and you want to try and shoot and land inside. And you could say whoever lands inside will get 5 points. Everyone who lands on the bail a 2? It's supposed to be a 2. 2 points, looks like a bad 6. And everyone on the outside gets 1 point. It's what you want it to do, okay? Now, whenever you have anything like this, does anyone remember what the ratio is? It's 1 to 1.5. Now, why do you say, well, below 50 is 1 to 1, over 50 is 1 to 1.5? The reason is for this. When you're shooting farther, you usually have to also have a stronger bow sometimes. There's going to be more things that's going to come into play. So you want to be extra safe, okay? So if you're shooting at 100 and all of a sudden you're shooting up like this and you let it go and all of a sudden your target is right here and you're shooting here, you're like, oh crap. It's very hard to have accurate control farther away. So you need a bigger variance to ensure safety. So this is why this is 100 and this is 150. Same thing from here. But again, from here, it is another 45 degrees. One of the things you're going to realize is when you start doing these types of shoots, you're going to shoot up and you're like, hey, this is great. And then all of a sudden there's going to be a wind gust. It's not windy down here. Hey, you're going to catch some wind up there. Or you're shooting in an area where you shouldn't have any trees or anything like this. Because if you shoot up, you want to make sure you're able to see the arrow during the full flight, up and down. So if you're shooting up, and it's coming up and it's looking good, and then all of a sudden, the wind hits it, you want to make sure that you have that area covered for the 150 again, just in case. You might say at that point, wow, there's a lot of wind. I need to really, and you're shooting this way, I need to compensate. All right, the wind is blowing, so I need to shift left. So you decide, wow, that's a lot. I'm going to shoot this way. And all of a sudden you shoot, and there's no wind. Okay, that's going to come into play where you're trying to readjust to compensate for something, and now all of a sudden that's not having an effect on it. This is why you have the 1 to 1.5 ratio. It's hard to control. Things could occur. This is why you also need to make sure that once you go through, you walk the area every time to make sure nothing's there. No animals or anything like that. Should be pretty easy to understand. So, strangely enough, that's it. Everything that comes into play after that is going to be making sure that your equipment's good, the bows are good, the arrows are good, you know all the commands. The commands are going to be given to you by the marshal in charge. They're marshal in charge. Whatever the marshal says, you can be like, oh, wait a minute, we've never done it like this before. It doesn't matter. The marshal's in charge. The marshal has full control. You listen to the marshal. If not, okay, don't shoot. There's nothing that says you have to. But these are the two main aspects. The normal shoots and then the specialty shoots where it's going to be like over 50 or more. There's going to be other shoots pertaining to like, hey, we need to shoot through a wall and there's only just that much of a hole. You can cover it up with paper so whenever it hits, you know that you get a point. Everything here, hopefully you got it like I said, the spray foam or something where the tips are not going to go in and have a hard time coming out or break or come loose. These are all specialty shoots. There's an advancing army shoot where there's a set of targets out, you start shooting from a distance, you shoot 3 arrows. All right, then you go up to the next yard and you shoot and they're closer, and again closer, and again closer. Okay, you can do it like that. You can do different types of moving shoots. One could be, all right, everyone at the 20 is going to be, backwards. Everyone is going to sit down, so they can either sit on a leg, sit on their butts, and at 20 yards, they're going to sit and shoot. At 30, they're going to all right. They're going to go down to one knee and shoot. And then at 40, they're going to stand and shoot. There is no specific requirement except for ICAC where this is the standard shoot that's going to happen every single time. The only thing that is standard is going to be the minimal safety requirements, which is, as I showed you, how to set up a field. All right, 40 to 40, if it's 20 to 20, if it's going to be 50 to 50, 45-degree angles to either side, and everyone is going to make sure that they're watching out for everyone else. They see something unsafe, they call a hold. Anything over 50 has a bigger safety window. You go through, make sure everything is done. You explain very clearly the type of shoot you're trying to do. And trust me, everyone's going to have a good time. Whether it's during the day or the night, whether it's a big fight, big open field, or a small little range that's indoors because, hey, it's winter, we can't always shoot outdoors. Make it fun. Some of the games that I've seen played are things like balloons. You shoot at balloons. That's always a nice one to get people comfortable. Also for kids, that's nice. I've seen playing cards put on there. I think the other S was wrong. Yes, the other S. Okay. So you can say, all right, we're going to be doing a 21. Whoever can get the highest hand to 21 without going over wins. Or you can try and get the best hand. Hey, I got three of a kind. Hey, I got a full house. Anything like that. Whatever you want to do is up to you. Or you can have a sponsored shoot. One of the shoots that I love the most is called the concentric circle shoot. And that is where you got 10 circles. I'm not going to do all 10. And what you have to do there is everyone has to shoot and get somewhere in the target. So your first one is right here. All right, you're good. You get to go again. The next one is, this one doesn't count. So you have to get the next smaller circle. All right, you get right here. That's good. You get to keep on going. You shoot again. Then all of a sudden, whoop, I got right here, you're out. This way, you're always trying to hit a smaller and smaller target. You can do the exact same thing opposite, but usually a lot of people get out very quickly. You get from 10 shooters to 2 shooters right away. So I'm not a big fan of that one. All of this, like I said, is up to your imagination on what you want to do. So even if you're not an archer or a marshal, correction, but you want to do something, get with a marshal and say, hey marshal, I want to do something like this. How can we do it? Get with them and they'll say, all right, let's go through it and see what it is. And then you can sponsor it. So you can be, hi, I'm Lady Cassandra, I'm from this group, and I am sponsoring this shoot today. And this shoot is, we got a whole bunch of flags. And we're going to say a color, and you have to hit that colored flag. Then, so you can have it, name it the Cassandra flag shoot, that type of thing. Don't just have to be like a participant. I mean, you don't have to just be a marshal. You can be a participant with an idea. Get that idea and talk to a marshal. And easily, most of the time, a marshal can help you set up a shoot that you really want to do or that you want to sponsor. And I really want to push sponsoring shoots because all the time people come up and go, hey, we have the Golden Apple shoot over here. We had like 43 people at the last Bardic Blade shoot in the Golden Apple shoot because everyone shot with a crossbow. Most people had never not shot with a crossbow, but it was pretty easy. It was new, it was exciting, and word travels. So, as I said, whatever you want to do, it's up to your mind. The most important thing though is when you set it up that you're safe, you know the requirements, and you hopefully get some support from other marshals to make sure everyone has a good time. But when you're in charge, you are in charge. Simple as that. All right, I'd like to thank you very much. It was a nice quick class. I will keep you guys up to date on other classes that I will be teaching. Nothing planned for tomorrow, so you don't have to see this face again every day. So thank you very much. Talk to you later.